When you look at the situation as a whole, here is exactly what went down after another blowout loss for the Chicago Sky. This was Ariel Atkins speaking on behalf of Angel Reese. Of course, they traded for Atkins in the offseason.
And the amount of crap that she gets on a day-to-day, and she still shows up. So whatever questions y'all got like about our team, basketball-wise, we appreciate it, but all the other nonsense, like, it's irrelevant. Like, we're here to play basketball and do what we do. We're having a hard time right now at the end of the day. Just a 23-year-old kid who handles herself with grace. Her crown is heavy.
Stephen A. Smith just blew up the basketball world, and trust me, the internet is losing its mind. This isn't just about a bad night on the court. It's a cold, hard dose of reality for someone we all thought was headed straight for the Hall of Fame. We're dissecting the very public takedown of Angel Reese's last game and what it spells for her future, especially when you stack her up against the absolute phenomenon that is Caitlin Clark. If you thought this rivalry was spicy before, honey, you ain't seen nothing yet. Stephen A. didn't just critique, he performed a full-on no-holds-barred basketball autopsy, and the results? They're jaw-dropping.
And Jamil Hill says by the time Angel Reese is done, she's going to be the Michael Jordan of WNBA.
She said about Angel Reese?
She said Angel Reese, by the time she retires, can you pull up this quote? She said by the time she retires, she will be the MJ of, go to Jamil Hill, type in Jamil Hill, yeah. She says, by the time she retires, Jamil Hill has made a bold prediction that Angel Reese will become the
After Angel Reese's latest flop against the New York Liberty, the legendary First Take host didn't just pull punches, he threw them all out the window. 4 points. A brutal 27-point blowout loss. For Stephen A., the excuses had officially run dry. In a moment where the spotlight was absolutely scorching, with her arch-rival Caitlin Clark benched due to injury, one player visibly crumbled under the heat, while the other's legend somehow just kept growing, even from the sidelines. It was a stark, undeniable gut punch that screamed volumes about where these two stars truly stand.
Prices, insane. Let me read you the ticket prices. After Caitlin Clark's been hurt for 2 weeks. All right, so let's go through this. Caitlin Clark absence is having an immediate impact beyond the court. According to data shared by Yahoo Sports via TickPick, prices for 2 specific Indiana Fever away games against the Chicago Sky and the Washington Mystics dropped sharply after Clark was sidelined. Before the injury, the lowest ticket available for Fever's matchup in Chicago was $86. For the game in Washington, fans needed at least $41 to get in. After the news of Clark's absence, those get-in prices fell to $25 from $86 and $14 from $41. What the hell is going on with WNBA that they cannot handle all this attention that they're getting, as well as that?
So here's the million-dollar question burning up everyone's timelines. Did Stephen A. Smith finally go too far, or was he just serving up the brutal, unfiltered truth that no one else had the guts to say? This wasn't just a critique, folks. It felt like a declaration, echoing the frustrations many fans have been quietly simmering over. Or was this the wake-up call Angel Reese needed to hear?
To be honest, and this was a rough game from the Chicago Sky, and I understand a lot of like people be like, you know what, they were in the game at halftime. They were up 1, like, and Atlanta got nuclear hot, but like that's the most favorable way you can look at it. Atlanta were 2 of 18 from 3 at one stage.
He painted the scene for us with surgical precision. Angel Reese stepping onto the court for that Liberty matchup, seemingly oozing with a confidence that bordered on audacious. Hair perfect, nails pristine, outfit so meticulously curated you'd swear she was about to stomp down a high-fashion runway in Milan, not gearing up for a high-stakes WNBA game at Madison Square Garden. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, the woman she's constantly measured against, was chilling on the bench, ankle-iced, probably sipping a Gatorade, and likely wondering how any professional athlete could prioritize pre-game aesthetics over the grueling prep for an actual competitive game. The visual clash was insane, almost like a performance in itself, setting a tone that pretty much guaranteed the epic faceplant that followed.
Second on the right. John over here from She Got Game. For you, Angel, tonight you were extremely efficient, played with a lot of poise and confidence tonight. For for all the scrutiny you do receive online and stuff of that nature, what kind of message does a game like this send to them as well as just the kind of momentum that this could build for you throughout the season?
Yeah, I obviously don't worry about what's going on online. I get so much love in person. I haven't ever had a negative encounter in person ever. And I've been going through this for 3 years. I've never had an encounter in person that was negative. So people online are behind the keyboard for a reason, and I don't worry about that stuff. I trust my work. My teammates trust me. And I was telling Milla today, like, she felt like she was having a rough day, and I was like, how many times have I had a rough day? And you picked me up. So don't get down on yourself. I know my teammates have my back, my coaches have my back, and that's all that really matters. I don't have to prove anything to anybody but myself and my teammates.
4 points. Let that absolute disaster sink in. That's not a typo, folks. It's not some statistical fluke. That pathetic total was Angel Reese's entire offensive contribution in a game where she was supposed to be the literal main event, the centerpiece around whom the Chicago Sky's entire performance revolved. When Stephen A. Smith first peeked at that box score, he probably had to wipe his glasses clean not once, but twice, just to confirm the bleak nightmare staring back at him. This wasn't just a bad game in the casual sense. This was, in his expert opinion, a masterclass in the art of vanishing into thin air when the bright lights demanded a player shine the absolute brightest. It was a performance that screamed troubling pattern, leaving everyone to question her impact when it truly, truly counts.
This is going to blow up and is worth addressing. Angel Reese had her best game of the season against the New York Liberty. It wasn't even close. Clearly her best game of the season. She's really struggled finishing this year. She looked a lot more aggressive, taking the ball up. She took shots from the outside that I think she needs to do. She needs to pull up, make the defense honest. She looked like she was playing with a ton of effort, and the Sky's still lost. They still got blown out, and the Sky issues go well beyond Angel Reese's field goal percentage. Obviously, Courtney Vandersloot out for the season. That's a blow, but they weren't even good before then. Their draft pick goes to the Minnesota Lynx. There is a lot of...
You know what makes this whole situation even more agonizing to watch? The New York Liberty immediately punched them in the mouth with a dominant 10-0 lead, and frankly, they could have stretched that margin to 50 points if their only goal was to inflict maximum humiliation on Chicago. This wasn't just a lopsided contest. It felt more like a public execution, cleverly disguised as a WNBA game. While every single person tuned in expected Angel to finally step up and own the moment with Clark sidelined, she instead delivered a performance so utterly pathetic it practically came with its own pre-written apology letter. Stephen A. didn't just offer mild criticism of Angel's performance, he metaphorically performed surgical precision on her entire basketball identity without the courtesy of anesthesia. She's not Caitlin Clark as a player, he declared with the kind of chilling finality that has the power to prematurely end careers and send athletes spiraling into years of therapy. Caitlin Clark is on a different level. That wasn't just raw analysis. It was a public service announcement delivered with all the subtle grace of a runaway freight train. But here's where the narrative truly escalates and gets spicy. Angel has been consistently strutting around with an almost unshakable confidence, openly comparing herself to legendary figures of the game, seemingly acting as if she's the second coming of basketball greatness. Meanwhile, her actual shooting percentage from a mere 5 feet and closer to the basket is so alarmingly awful, it probably deserves a prominent warning label. Stephen A. pointed out a staggering statistic. She's currently shooting a woeful 19 of 59 from point-blank range. That's not just struggling to score, that's actively defying the fundamental laws of basketball physics and showing a shocking lack of touch at the rim. The argument for her impact purely through rebounding is rapidly becoming outdated too. Sure, she managed to grab 12 boards against the Liberty. Congratulations, you collected a participation trophy while your entire team suffered a humiliating 27-point demolition. It's akin to proudly flaunting your perfect attendance record while consistently failing every single class. Rebounding without meaningful offensive production is nothing more than busy work, a deceptive distraction disguised as genuine basketball impact. And then, the ultimate absurdity, let's seriously talk about that preposterous comparison to none other than Michael Jordan that someone foolishly, audaciously made. Stephen A. probably heard that blasphemy and immediately started praying for the collective soul of basketball. Michael Jordan in his prime would have single-handedly scored Angel's entire season total in a mere single quarter, probably while battling the flu. The sheer audacity to even utter those two names in the same sentence is enough to make seasoned basketball purists openly weep. Here's what truly went down in that Liberty game. Angel had the absolute perfect setup. No Caitlin Clark on the opposing side to inadvertently steal her thunder. A massive national television audience tuned in. A primetime time slot that begged for a breakout performance and every conceivable opportunity to emphatically prove she belonged in the elite conversation alongside the league's top-tier players. Instead, she provided us with a performance so utterly forgettable that highlight reels are currently filing restraining orders against it. The Chicago coaching staff, visibly desperate, tried everything in their playbook. They strategically moved her around the court like furniture in a haunted house, fervently hoping that a mere change of scenery would magically unlock some hidden scoring ability. Power forward, center, small ball 5, absolutely nothing worked. Head coach Tyler Marsh was likely drawing up plays in hieroglyphics by the fourth quarter, frantically searching for any combination that just might, result in Angel actually making a shot. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, casually sitting on the bench in street clothes, still somehow managed to be more relevant to the game's unfolding narrative than the player who was actually suited up and playing. That, my friends, is when you know you've completely lost the plot. When an injured player unable to play generates more excitement, more buzz, and more narrative attention than your healthy star player, you're not merely experiencing a temporary slump, you're having a full-blown existential crisis on the court. The immediate fan reactions across social media told the complete and unvarnished story. 4 points instantly became the bitter rallying cry of disappointed viewers who had tuned in expecting spectacular fireworks and were instead handed a soaking wet matchstick. Even Angel's most dedicated, loyal supporters were visibly struggling to concoct any positive spin. She contributed in other ways, quickly became the basketball equivalent of the backhanded compliment. Oh, she has a great personality. But Stephen A wasn't finished delivering his surgical commentary. He intelligently dove into the crucial historical context that makes this entire situation even more profoundly embarrassing. Angel effectively built her entire WNBA brand, her public persona, and her immense viral fame on that singular LSU championship moment where she audaciously taunted Caitlin Clark. That singular, explosive viral confrontation dramatically launched her into professional basketball stardom, creating an instant, compelling narrative. But here's the fundamental problem. You absolutely cannot build an entire professional career solely on one memorable college moment. Eventually, inevitably, you have to actually demonstrate that you can play professional level basketball at a consistently high standard. The irony in this unfolding drama is almost deliciously palpable. Angel became famous for getting squarely in Clark's face during their college days. And now Clark, through sheer undeniable basketball excellence and without even trying, is inadvertently getting right back in her face by simply outperforming her. One player demonstrably elevated their game to match their immense confidence and the expectations surrounding them. The other appears to be content to simply coast on the fading wave of a 3-year-old college memory, all while posting professional numbers that wouldn't even impress a seasoned JV coach. Let's meticulously examine the efficiency numbers that have Stephen A and practically everyone else in the basketball world questioning what Angel Reese truly tangibly brings to the professional table. She's been blocked an astonishing 20 times this season, and in stark contrast, has only managed to make 21 total field goals. That's not just bad shooting or inefficient, that's performance art about futility. She's essentially turning professional basketball into an interpretive dance about profound disappointment. The comparison to Caitlin Clark becomes utterly unavoidable, precisely because they entered the league so tightly linked, framed as this generation's defining rivalry. Except one player is actively redefining what's genuinely possible in professional basketball, pushing the boundaries with groundbreaking numbers, while the other is, unfortunately, redefining what exactly counts as a meaningful contribution. Clark's triple-double numbers are not just impressive, they are historic, setting new benchmarks. Angel's shooting percentages, on the other hand, are also historic, but for all the wrong concerning reasons. Stephen A specifically mentioned that Clark possesses the ability to pull up and launch shots from virtually anywhere on the court, much like the legendary Steph Curry. He wasn't exaggerating in the slightest. We've all witnessed Clark effortlessly launch successful shots from distances that would make even seasoned NBA players pause and think twice. Meanwhile, Angel is inexplicably struggling with basic layups and short-range attempts that should be automatic for anyone who has ever seriously touched a basketball. The skill gap between them isn't just noticeable, it's rapidly becoming glaringly embarrassing. The WNBA viewership numbers tell an even more brutal and sobering story. The Liberty Sky game, despite featuring multiple highly promoted all-star players and signature shoe athletes, pulled in just slightly over 600,000 viewers on ESPN. for crucial context, Indiana Fever games, even without Caitlin Clark actively playing in them, still consistently outdraw those numbers on significantly smaller, less prominent networks. The league's entire shrewd marketing strategy is intricately built around compelling rivalries and captivating personalities. But what fundamentally happens when half of that highly anticipated rivalry simply cannot perform at the level the moment demands? Angel's elaborate pre-game fashion choices have, by this point, unfortunately solidified into a widely circulated meme. Stephen A. openly pondered aloud whether she perhaps dedicates more of her valuable time and energy to meticulously coordinating outfits than to actually practicing fundamental basketball skills. When your pre-game runway walk consistently generates more highlight-worthy content and social media engagement than your actual game performance, you're no longer primarily an athlete. You're regrettably an influencer who simply happens to own a pair of basketball shoes. The coaching staff's palpable frustration has to be reaching critical breaking levels. Imagine the immense pressure of game planning around a player who consistently, repeatedly underperforms in crucial, high-stakes moments. Every single timeout must feel like an agonizing intervention. Every strategic substitution likely feels like a desperate mercy killing. Head coach Tyler Marsh probably has Angel's benching speech committed to memory by now, as he's regrettably had to deliver it with such frequent regularity. Here's what precisely makes Stephen A's criticism so incredibly potent and effective. He is not personally attacking Angel Reese as a person. Instead, he is rigorously holding her accountable to the exact standard that she herself so confidently set. She publicly proclaimed herself a star. She deliberately positioned herself as Caitlin Clark's direct equal. She actively courted the intense comparison and the fierce competition. Now she must bravely live with the undeniable results when those very comparisons make her look devastatingly ordinary. The profound psychological aspect of this cannot be ignored either. Angel entered the league brimming with tremendous confidence, buoyed by her college success and a string of viral, attention-grabbing moments. However, professional basketball has a harsh, unforgiving way of brutally humbling players who are simply not yet ready for the relentless level of competition. Every missed shot becomes a soul-crushing confidence killer. Every poor performance adds immense, unbearable weight to the mounting criticism. The mental game becomes every bit as challenging, if not more so, than the physical demands of the sport. Clark's unfortunate injury absence should have been Angel's golden, unequivocal opportunity to shine brighter than anyone. Instead, it inadvertently highlighted precisely how much the league's burgeoning excitement and viewership fundamentally depend on one singular player. When Clark sits, viewership drops. When Clark doesn't play, social media engagement plummets dramatically. This isn't necessarily Angel's direct fault, but it undeniably exposes how little genuine impact she actually has on the league's broader overall appeal and marketability. The ongoing salary cap discussions become highly relevant here as well. WNBA players are justifiably pushing for increased compensation and significantly better working conditions. But performances like Angel's 4-point disappearing act against the Liberty don't exactly strengthen their negotiating position at the bargaining table. Owners are closely watching these games, quite reasonably wondering why they should invest substantially more money into players who cannot consistently deliver compelling entertainment value and professional level output. Stephen A. astutely touched on something absolutely crucial when he mentioned Angel's leadership qualities. Beyond the raw statistics, beyond the flashy moments, what does she tangibly contribute to her team's actual success? Is it veteran leadership, clutch, game-winning performances, defensive intensity that fundamentally alters games? The stark answer, based on current evidence, appears to be primarily rebounds and a consistent stream of social media content, which, regrettably, isn't exactly a championship-winning recipe for professional basketball. The player development timeline is also deeply concerning. Most professional players demonstrate significant quantifiable improvement between their first and second professional seasons. Angel, alarmingly, appears to be regressing in several key fundamental areas, while her unwavering confidence remains mysteriously, inexplicably intact. That glaring disconnect between self-perception and actual on-court performance creates a truly dangerous gap that has the potential to derail promising careers. players. Looking at the broader WNBA landscape, Angel's ongoing struggles represent a much larger systemic problem concerning player development, realistic expectations, and the path to true professional excellence. The league desperately needs genuine stars who can consistently perform at an elite level under immense pressure. Every marquee player who consistently fails to deliver significantly hurts the overall product and makes it exponentially harder to attract casual fans who might otherwise become passionate long-term supporters. The comparison to Clark becomes, yet again, utterly unavoidable because they are forever inextricably linked through that iconic college championship moment. But while Clark demonstrably used that profound experience as potent motivation to tirelessly reach new, unprecedented heights, Angel seems regrettably content to simply coast on the fading memory of that moment. One player brilliantly transformed criticism into invaluable fuel for relentless improvement. The other sadly turned early success into a comfortable, dangerous complacency. Stephen A's final, most cutting point about Angel not being truly ready for the professional level hits the hardest, precisely because, unfortunately, it's likely the unvarnished truth. College success does not automatically, effortlessly translate to professional excellence. The WNBA is undeniably faster, significantly more physical, and infinitely less forgiving than college basketball. Players who cannot adapt, who cannot elevate their game, will inevitably be left behind, regardless of their social media following, their college accolades, or their impeccable fashion sense. The vital fan investment aspect also cannot be overlooked. People are actively spending their hard-earned money on tickets, on merchandise, and on streaming services, partly because they genuinely believe they are watching elite, high-level basketball. When players consistently underperform, it fundamentally breaks that implicit sacred contract between the athlete and the eager audience. Fans feel cheated, and rightfully so. Angel's persistent shooting struggles from close range represent more than just minor mechanical issues. They strongly suggest fundamental problems with focus, with rigorous preparation, or perhaps even with natural innate ability at this level. Professional basketball players are unequivocally expected to consistently make shots that even recreational players can sometimes make. When that most basic fundamental expectation isn't consistently met, absolutely everything else becomes secondary and largely irrelevant. The media narrative surrounding Angel has been absolutely fascinating to watch evolve over time. Early in her career, almost every single criticism leveled against her was met with immediate, fierce defensive reactions and accusations of unfair treatment or bias. Now, even her most dedicated, staunch supporters are visibly running out of plausible excuses. Reality has a brutal, unyielding way of cutting through even the most powerful hype, and reality, in this stark instance, emphatically states that 4 points in a crucial, nationally televised game simply isn't acceptable at any professional level. Stephen A. Smith's blistering criticism represents a pivotal turning point in how Angel Reese is now widely perceived by mainstream sports media and the general public. The honeymoon period is officially, unequivocally over. The benefit of the doubt has been completely exhausted. Moving forward, she will be judged purely, solely on her on-court performance. And based on the most recent, undeniable evidence, that prospect is an incredibly terrifying one for her promising, yet now precarious, career trajectory. Stephen A. delivered the unvarnished truth that nobody else was brave enough to speak aloud. Angel Reese's 4-point performance wasn't just profoundly disappointing, it was a thunderous reality check for anyone still stubbornly clinging to the comparison between her and Caitlin Clark. So what's your take on this entire explosive situation? Do you agree with Stephen A? Drop your thoughts and opinions below in the comments section. Smash that like button if you think Stephen A was absolutely right in his assessment, and don't forget to subscribe for more unfiltered, raw, and impactful basketball analysis.